All right, greetings, everyone. We are live again. Dynasty Mirror Search for Uhuru. Thank you all. Thank you so much for joining. Make sure you guys hit that like button as you come to the chat room. Again, please hit the like button. Also, make sure you share and subscribe. Hit that subscription button, subscription bell, notification bell, so you guys can stay up to date in regards to what's going on with Dynasty Mirror. Also, go to One Africa Properties, oneafricaproperties.com, your central source for real estate on the continent of Africa. So please go and support. What else? Become a monthly Patreon, Cash App. Everything's rolling on the bottom of the screen. Support Black media, you guys. You know, after seeing what was on BET, well, I didn't see it. I just heard. I saw clips. You know, support Black media. People who are doing positive stuff. I don't know what's going on over there. So without further ado, and guys, so I was watching this brother lead attorney. I've been watching a couple of his streams, a couple of his shows. You know, brother was just giving just great knowledge when it comes to child support, divorces, marriage. You know, and I noticed, like, I know that arch. See, I was looking at his degree. I saw his degree, and I saw that red arch, and I said, and I zoomed in, and I had to look in. I said, man, that's a UGA degree, man. Yes, so I was like, I got to hit my brother up, UGA alum, University of Georgia. We were actually at Georgia at the same time, but he was so busy with law school. I was running football, running track, and chasing chicks. So, you know, our priorities were a little bit different. So we probably weren't in the same circles because he was busy getting his law degree. Me, I was eating that Snelling.
That's Snelling. Oh, not Brumby, right? That's where you really eat at, right?
Yeah, in McWhorter Hall, you know, eat at McWhorter Hall in Snelling.
Were you at McWhorter? I was an RA there.
When were you RA there? Well, you weren't there RA when
I was an RA from 96 to 99.
Well, I was gone. I wasn't there, so I wasn't there. Yeah. So
shout out to McWhorter Hall. Man, it's such a small world, right? It's such a small world, and I look at your videos, man. You over there in Africa doing it, you know. And I'll be honest with you. I hear, especially now that I've kind of gotten a channel and I'm interacting with more people. I see the passport bros, right? A strong community of brothers who are like, listen. All right, America is great. We get it. But there are other things overseas as well, other experiences. Right. But to be honest, what you really hear about, you know, you hear about the DR all the time. You hear about Brazil and you hear about Colombia, and that's it. But you're really starting to hear more about Africa. You know, shout out to O'Shea Duke Jackson. You know, he's super strong. He has people. He's a content creator, a YouTube creator, and he has people on his channel that promote Africa, and he's doing his own thing, I think he's starting a dating show in Africa. Right. And he's like, listen, don't sleep on Nigeria, don't sleep on Ghana, don't sleep on Johannesburg. Like it's a lot of things happening over there. But to be honest, to a person like me, and this sounds so damn tragic, you know, but it seems because Africa is home, right? Is home.
They ain't gonna judge you.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
They ain't gonna judge you. Go ahead.
I appreciate that, you know, and I'll be vulnerable a little bit, you know. It's so terrible because you figure, okay, Mexico, let's say, or the Dominican Republic, it's like, okay, that's fine, you know, it's a little different. But in my mind, at least, when I think of Africa, you're like, damn, you know, that's real exotic, that's real foreign, even though it's our damn home, right? And so it's that's like a mental barrier, I suppose. And I guess, you know, it's going to Mexico is a lot quicker. Let's say 3 hours, you're in central Mexico, and maybe, you know, right. Africa, it's not like that. But a lot of people are saying, listen, don't sleep on Africa. I mean, it's got so many things to offer. And so to see you, a Georgia alum, we were there at the same time. We might have eaten at Snelling at the same day. You know, to see a brother like you just doing it, man, it really touches my heart. I see a lot of people. I represent. I'm the lead attorney, guys, and I've been doing divorces for 20 years. And I represent a lot of people, even a lot of people who are doing really well. A lot of people making in the high six figures. A lot of white people, and they're miserable. They're absolutely miserable with their lives. They got, you know, a wife that doesn't respect them anymore. They've been married 11 years. They got these 3 kids. Kids don't even pay attention to him. Sometimes the kids don't even like him, but he's there, you know, working from 7 in the morning to 7 at night, 7 in the morning to 8 at night, working hard to pay all the bills, never missed a mortgage payment, paying the cars, saving up for the kids' college fund. So, the wife is being supported, the kids are being supported, but what about him? Right? What about him? He's so unhappy. And so, but he's just following what society told him to do, be the workhorse, get on the treadmill, earn a good income, and that's your life. And so to see a guy like you just take life by the reins and make your life on an individual basis what you want it to be. I mean, no one's out here saying, oh, travel around to Africa and this and that. I mean, you're actually doing that on purpose. You are living intentionally, as opposed to so many of these people who are just, men especially, just suffering just quietly. So when I see your channel, man, it's hard for me to express to you how it makes me feel. I mean, you are really doing it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And as how it started, you brought up Brazil. Mm-hmm. So 2011. So I was working in corporate America. I was in LA working for Cintas, just hit my stride, doing sales, was making good money. And he's like a brother of mine, Fitzgerald Stevens. He was like, Dynas, you need to take a vacation. And back then I'm like, man, I'm not taking no vacation. I need to be out on these streets. I need to work, get that money, more money. And I said, okay, I'm gonna look into it. So I was like, I'm going to Brazil. I got disposable income. I'm gonna go to Rio. My boy said, you get you a villa, 2 big booty Brazilian chicks.
That's what's up.
And you can ball out. So I was about to do that. And so the girl who I was gonna go with, actually, she went to UGA too, but I'm not gonna say her name.
Okay.
UGA, she's a UGA love too. She was there when you were there as well. She was gonna take me down there and show me around and set me out and set me up with everything and all that good stuff. She hit me up and was like, dang, Don, it's like I'm not gonna be able to make it. So I'm like, damn, I'm not gonna go by myself. So then my homeboy, Yishak Abraham, I called him, was like, look, man, I gotta take a vacation somewhere. Where should I go? He said, go to Tanzania, go to Tanzania, East Africa. And I just started researching, and there was an island called Zanzibar. And at that time in Los Angeles, there was an actual nightclub called Zanzibar, but I didn't know it was actually a real place. So I went and I fell in love, man. When I say I fell in love, I fell in love, and I've been going ever since. And I was like the first, like me. See, the shift started happening probably like 2018. Mm-hmm. Like I was like really the only corporate cat who I would see in Africa.
Right.
But around 2018, I'm starting a lot more. I'm in corporate America, man. I'm tired, man. I want to expand my options. Dynas, I see you in Africa. Mm-hmm. Tell me more. So it's starting to shift now. Like it's like 2018, 2017 is when that shift started to happen, where a lot more corporate people, instead of, I'm gonna go to Bali or Thailand or Mexico, I'm gonna go check out Ghana, or or Tanzania. So that's when it started to shift. But yeah, I was lonely. I was on my. In fact, I inspired O'Shea. Me and O'Shea from the same town, Sacramento.
Really? I did not know.
Yeah. So I inspired O'Shea to go to Africa.
Really? So, wow. See, I'm learning. I'm learning. Yeah. Wow, that's what's up. Because O'Shea's the one who really he gave me a big boost when I was just starting out as a YouTuber really earlier this year. I've been on YouTube for about 14 months. Okay. And I wasn't really growing, and I had about 1,000 subscribers. I only have like 25,000 right now, but in January I only had like 1,000 or 1,500. And he kept putting me on his channel, on his show. And I started getting some really big pops in my numbers, and I started getting a lot of momentum. So, I view him as like the big bro, man. He really helped me out. So it's crazy, but he has this whole, African side to him that a lot of people here in the States don't appreciate because of some of his videos. Most of his videos concern something else. But when he does this African stuff, I was like, in my head, I'm like, okay, how did you get into this? That's interesting, y'all. So you are really the OG. You are the OG.
I'm the OG.
Wow, that's what's up. That is what's up. You might inspire me then.
You gotta come, man. You gotta go, man. You gotta go. You can out of Hartsfield Jackson, you can fly direct to Johannesburg and fly direct to Lagos out of Hartsfield Jackson.
As a person who has never traveled to Africa, just wants a really beginner experience, just super beginner, nothing hardcore. I watched one of your videos and you were like, yeah, this is where I'm staying, this is where I'm showering and stuff like that. And I was, you know, they're just humble places, right? And so places that, normally would scare off a person, like, no, I don't necessarily want to go there. There are places for the real travelers and then places for the fake travelers. And I'm kind of a fake traveler, to be honest, right? So where would you suggest a fake traveler go to Africa, a beginner traveler he can't really handle the hardcore experience, can't handle the reality, but just a surface level, just a little taste?
I would say go to South Africa and Namibia or Tanzania.
South Africa, Namibia, Tanzania.
Maybe Tanzania, yeah. Or
Gotcha.
Tanzania or Kenya, yeah.
Got you. I'll have to do that then. And Johannesburg, that's in South Africa, is that right?
Yeah, that's capital. Yeah, well, it's not the capital, but it's the main city.
The big city.
And you can fly direct from Hartsfield Jackson, Delta.
I heard like way back in the day that like to go to Africa, you'd have to get all these shots in your stomach or something like that. Is that true?
Nah, just get your yellow fever shot just to have it, But outside of that, nah.
Outside of that, you're good. And then how long is the flight?
15 hours.
That's commitment right there. That's commitment.
Listen. So on Delta, they got great entertainment. You watch a couple movies, eat dinner.
It's an overnight flight, or
yeah, it's red eye. Sleep, wake up, bam, you're there.
You're right there. And then I guess Johannesburg, since I assume it's a big city, right? So they got hotels and all this other stuff.
It's a huge city. It's bigger than Atlanta, so it's a huge city.
Bigger than Atlanta. Okay, so when you get there, then what do you do?
I mean, so usually when I first started traveling I was always traveling by myself. I would always find a place to stay. I usually would do like a smaller bed and breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
When I get there, just say, hey, I need a guide to show me around, who speaks the language, who could show me around, negotiate for me. And I would do that. I'll just tell them what I want to see, or they just tell me the main, landmarks. They'll take me around, show me around, bring me back to the hotel. Yeah. It's simple, man. We just be overcomplicated because it's Africa, but it's simple, man.
That's true. And another thing I have, I've never really traveled before by myself extensively. So I still have this thing to where I want to travel with someone else. I had a girlfriend recently and we broke up. And so now, just like I always want to travel, but I don't ever want to go alone. Did you
I do tours too. I take groups with me as well. So.
Oh, really?
So we're doing Nigeria next month, and then end of November we're doing Sierra Leone.
How long are the tours?
When we do Sierra Leone, it's like 8 nights, 8 days, 8-9 days, and then have a full itinerary. And Nigeria is a little bit shorter, but it's more on the spiritual side. So it's
when is the Sierra Leone one?
It's going to be end of November, early December. So Sierra Leone, what they're doing, they're the only African country that's worked this out. If through African ancestry, you take a DNA test, and either on your maternal or paternal side, if one of the results come back to a tribe who's linked to Sierra Leone, that comes from Sierra Leone, you're eligible for citizenship. You get your citizenship.
Wow.
So I got mine in January.
Oh, really? Oh, that's what's up. So you got that dual citizenship on deck. That's fantastic.
I have Nigerian as well too.
That is awesome. Yeah. And so what was it a different test than just the random 23?
Yeah, it's different. They still swab, but it's more, I guess, involved, and it links you directly to your tribe, so.
Damn, that's deep. That's deep right there, man. I'm sorry, I kind of turned this around on you, right? I'm interviewing.
If you want to, when you can have me on your show, and we could, I'll come over there, and we could chop it up about Africa.
That would be awesome. That would absolutely be awesome because I don't know anything. I don't know anything about it, and it does. it's embarrassing to admit that you kind of, as a black man, you kind of view Africa, you know, so exotic or so foreign, when really, I mean, it's where we're from, you know? Like I'm so much more comfortable with the idea of going to the DR or going to Colombia, or even Brazil. Brazil is definitely on my bucket list. I was gonna go, but then damn,
COVID.
yeah, all that stuff hit, so that kind of knocked that out. But you know, I've been like in total, I've lived in Mexico for 5 or 6 years. You know, I had my legal permanent residency over there. So I'm actually going down there at the end of next month. So I like to travel, but you know, I like, you know, it's set up, you know, in a certain way, you know, because I'm older now. You know, if I was young like you, I should give anything. Like, you know,
44?
I'm 44, yeah.
Okay, I'm 39.
All right, you do not look 39. All right, but that's black don't cry. You look like you're late 20s. All right,
well,
but
I was at UGA in 2000.
You're exactly. I didn't even think about it because I just learned it. Like we're just talking now, but yeah, you're exactly right. And we were there at the same time. I've gotten spoiled a little bit, right? And so, like one of the things that really impressed me when you were doing your videos is the hospitality of everybody, right? So I'm sure you know they take care of you and they give you the best that they have, and that's awesome, right? So you never want to turn your nose up to something like that, because even humble people, man, when they're coming from the heart, you really feel it. You absolutely feel it. But because it's just me, I don't have any connections to anybody. It's not like I can just show up and feel comfortable.
Brother, hold on. Let me stop you right there. I'm your connection now.
You're the connect. All right, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah, man. So I'm gonna have to really consider that, you know, because it's so easy for everybody to run down to Cancun or Vallarta or Cabos,
right?
And you feel like you're doing. And where I go in Mexico, since I live there, you know, I kind of actually consider it a second home. So it's really not foreign to me, but you know, it's different than being here. I love it, and the people are super warm and, you know, super gracious as well. But there's a part of me that's like, man, I hear people when people start talking about Africa, my ears perk up, even though it does represent mentally a much bigger barrier for me.
Like I said, just hop on that plane and go, man.
That's the way to do it. How much does a flight to Johannesburg cost?
Well, see, they rape you out of Hartsfield Jackson. So
really?
If you're gonna fly out of Hartsfield, it's like $1,800. But you fly to JFK, it's less than $1,000.
Oh, really? Wow, that's cheap.
Yeah.
Or overnight. Wow.
Or you can fly out of Newark on United direct to Joburg for like $950.
That's super cheap for a 15-hour flight. Jesus. That's nice right there. I might have to put it on the bucket list, man.
Yeah.
You know, I might have to see how it goes. Yes,
sir. Yes, sir. So child support.
Oh yeah.
You know, brothers who are caught up in the system. And let me give this disclaimer. We're not defending deadbeat dads, okay? But this system can be wicked, and it can be weaponized against good men, against great fathers, men who are doing their job, right? My opinion is child support is for children, or is for men who don't support their children.
Yeah.
So, you know, but at the same time, I'm noticing that it's also weaponized against good men. So if you have a good man, right, takes care of his son, but because he's in the system, the child support system, something might come up and he gets behind, right? I had a homeboy who I guess he got served with a notice, I don't know, to appear in court about child support. And they sent it to the wrong address. This is what he was saying. They sent it to the wrong address he used to live at, but he wasn't at. And then maybe 3 months later, he got pulled over, tail light, and they said he got arrested.
Yeah.
But it's just the system is so wicked, man. But go ahead, what can brothers do if they just get behind?
Yeah.
Like, you
It's
know,
it's it's tough. They started this program. Um, I guess they started in '96, where they would deny you a passport, right?
right.
If you owed, I think back then it was you had to owe $5,000. If you owed $5,000 or more, they would deny you a passport.
Mhm.
And then it's like 10 years later, in 2006, they halved the amount. So it used to be that you could owe 5,000, but now you can only owe 2,500.
Right.
And so I get calls about this all the time. Not all the time, but often enough. Often enough. A lot of times people it's almost difficult to owe 2,500 in child support. Like most people
Because
owe a lot more.
because
What's
if
up?
you owe now, my understanding, sorry to cut you off, if you owe 2,000, you could be arrested, right?
Well, no, here's how that usually works. What can happen is, let's say you owe $2,000 in child support.
Uh-huh.
Just because you all right, let me take it all the way back. Right? So let
Okay.
me just set the context here, right?
Mhm.
There are two types generally of child support. You got like a public type and then a private type. What's the private type? The private type is me and my wife, we got a kid, we get divorced. And she says, listen, lead attorney, you need to slide me over 2,000 a month. And I say, all right. And so the judge orders 2,000 a month.
Mhm.
And I just pay her. Back in the day when I was a young pup, a young lawyer starting off, it used to be through checks. So whenever I would go to pick my son up, I would just hand her that check, on the 1st and the 15th. Then time started modernizing. You hand her the check or you put it in the mail. Now people don't really use checks so much anymore. Now it's it's just easier to do it through like automatic draft or just automatic bank transfers. You just click, 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 and you send her over the money.
Mhm.
And it could be that we have a pretty good relationship, me and my ex, and I've fallen behind a few months. So over the years, let's say I've missed 4 payments. So 4 payments, $2,000 each payment, I owe her $8,000.
All right.
But she knows that whenever my son needs something, shoes or something like that, whatever. I'm not just stonewalling her for the money. No one knows that I owe her the money. No one knows. The State Department doesn't know. The cops don't know. The judge doesn't know. No one knows. It's between us, right? And there are a lot of cases out, like millions of cases like that, right? There are millions of cases where the fathers are caught up, the mothers are fine, the fathers are fine, the fathers get their visitation, the fathers are paying, everything's fine. That's something. I think the child support system is corrupt. But I absolutely will say that sometimes it works. It's like a broken clock, right? A broken clock gonna be it's gonna be right twice a day.
All right.
And there are a lot of child support cases that work. Maybe the father's paying a little bit more than he wants to. Maybe the mother is getting a little bit less than she wants to, right? But they meet in the middle and it's fine. So that's the private side where the father's just paying the mom, and if he's paid on time, he pays on time. If he owes a little bit, he owes a little bit. Mom and sweating them too much, she'll say she'll make a slick comment every now and then just to remind you, hey, but it's fine. That's the private side. That's the private side of child support. But there's a public side of child support as well. And that's when everything goes to hell. Right. That's the vicious part. And the public side of child support is when child support enforcement is involved.
Right.
Now, child support enforcement can be involved because the mother, the ex, let's say my ex, she applies for food stamps, and the food stamps office is like, oh, you need money, huh? And she's like, yeah. And she's like, oh, they're like, okay, what's the father's name? Where does he work? What's his address? And now they're taking me to court. And I'm like, hey, let's say I have 50-50 custody of my son, so no one's paying child support. And we go to court and I'm like, Judge, I got 50-50 custody. I shouldn't be paying child support. But the judge says, no, she's on government benefits. She's on welfare. Mm-hmm. So I say, well, she should get a job. What does that have to do with me? And they say, no, because she's on welfare, the state needs to be reimbursed for the money. The state's sending her welfare, let's say an amount of $600. So where's the state going to get that from? The state can't get it from the taxpayers. Mm-hmm. And I said, well, what am I supposed to do about it? No, well, now you're going to pay child support to her. I said, I'm going to pay child support even though I've got 50-50 custody just because she didn't want to get a job and she applied for state aid? Yeah. And it's called child support, but it's not child support. It's called child support. Child support, it makes you think that the money's going to my son, and it's not.
No.
The money is going to reimburse the state so that the state can pay its bills. So a lot of people don't know this, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but the whole welfare system was set up so that it wasn't the rich people that paid for the poor people. It was the poor people that paid for other poor people. Right. A lot of people think, you know, where's all this money coming from the WIC and the food stamps and, you know, cash aid, all this other stuff. It's coming from other poor people. And so they will call it child support and they will take it from me, but it's really to reimburse the state. So that's one way. Now, if I don't pay my $2,000, the state is like, hey, where's your money? Right? And now we start getting into the licenses. Now we start getting into the passports. Or let's say the judge orders that my $2,000 a month, let's say I have to pay $800 a month. The judge orders it to be taken directly from my employment check, directly from my salary. Well, the money is going to be taken by the child support office. And now the child support office is involved. And they got their little computer programs that tell them if I'm on time or if I'm behind. And that's how they know if there's debts, right? So if it's just private, me and my ex-wife, no child support agency, and I owe her $8,000, nothing's going to happen. No one knows. Now, if she gets mad, she can go to court and she can tell the judge, and then the judge might try to throw me in jail or something like that or force me to pay. Then child support's going to find out about it. But as long as we stay out of court, it's just between me and her. Right. But again, if she takes me to court, if she asks the judge to take the money directly from my employment, if she applies for government benefits, now it's public. Now the public side comes in. Now, what happens when the public side, we're talking about the public side, and on their little computer program that shows that the lead attorney owes $8,000. Right. Now I've got a problem because the state can say, hey, you know, according to our system, you owe $8,000. Now, I cannot be just taken to jail because I owe $8,000. Okay. What probably happened to your friend was it showed that he owed $8,000 and they suspended his license. They will absolutely right. Okay. Yeah. So what happens is they suspend your license. They're supposed to give you notice based on due process. So many times they don't. They're supposed to mail you something. So many times they don't. So many times you don't get it. Your license is suspended. You don't even know it. So they pull you over for a tail light. And, you know, 20 minutes later, you're in booking. Right. You're like, for a tail light, listen, you owe child support. What child support? I didn't even get a hearing. I didn't even know. Happens all the time. Not only will they suspend your driver's license, they will suspend your CDL so that you can't work. If you're a commercial, if you're a trucker, you can't work. They'll suspend your professional licenses. If you're a barber, if you're a real estate agent, right? They'll garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts. Of course, they'll throw you in jail based on if you owe child support and a judge has ordered you to go to jail. There's so many mechanisms that they will use to try to extract money from you. One of the things that they do is they will absolutely suspend, revoke, or deny your passport. What that usually looks like is, you know, let's say you owe $8,000. The minimum, right? The maximum right now that you can owe is $2,500. So let's say I owe $8,000. So what's going to happen on their little computer system? They're going to say, "Hey, lead attorney owes $8,000," and they're going to the child support enforcements. They're going to draft up a PON. It's a pre-offset notice. Now they're supposed to send me the notice at least 30 days before they send this notice to the State Department for the passports. Right. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes I don't even know they've drafted the letter. They've drafted the notice, because if they draft the notice, I'm supposed to be able to get a hearing and say, no, I don't owe $8,000. Or, you know, maybe I do owe $8,000, but give me time to pay it off before you suspend my or deny my passport. They don't do it. Not regularly. You know, sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. I mean, it's the government. What are you going to do? Right. And so a lot of times they will draft this notice, the pre-offset notice, assuming they don't send it to you, they'll send it to the State Department, and, you know, your license will be flagged. Not your license, your passport. Now, What does that mean if your passport is on the denial list? Does that mean you can't travel? No, you can still travel. If you have your passport in your hand, you can still travel.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah. But what they'll do is they will deny you a new passport.
When it comes to renew it.
Exactly. Anytime they have it in their hand, if they have your passport in their hand for whatever reason, if you try to renew it, if you lost it and trying to get another one, if it got damaged and you need a replacement, if some pages got wet, I already mentioned the damage, or if you needed to add more pages, if you have a name change or you want to change your picture, anytime you submit your passport, oh, we got it now, right? And now that it's on the list, they don't have to pay it. They don't have to give it back to you. What guys really need to understand, all the passport bros, is that you don't have a passport. I mean, you have one, but it's not yours. Your passport really is not your property. It's really the government's property, and they can take it at any time, right? They're allowing you to have it, but they make the rules. You don't make the rules. And so one of the rules is if you owe more than $2,500, they can deny you from getting a new one, whatever happens to it. Now, a lot of people are in a bad situation because let's say I owe $8,000. And I tell my let's say I owe $5,000, but I only make $50,000 a year, and so I can't pay $5,000 just like that. I don't make enough. Right. So my ex takes me, my baby mama takes me to court, and the judge says, "Listen, this is what you're gonna do. You have to pay $600 in child support each month, but you owe $5,000. So what are you gonna do?" The judge said, "I could put you in jail, but instead of putting you in jail, I'm gonna allow you to pay $200 a month. Now you're already going to pay the $500, but I'm allow you to pay $200 a month extra until you pay off the $5,000. So you're going to pay, $500 a month in child support plus $200 extra to pay off your child support debt. Now you're going to pay that off. So you're going to pay $700 a month until the $5,000 is paid off. Once the $5,000 is paid off, the $200 payment is going to fall off, and you're just going to pay the $500. And I say, well, thank you, Judge, because if you would have put me in jail, I would have lost my job. The judge says, no problem. So now I'm paying, right? So, and I could be on this plan. Listen, it's going to take me a few years to get off this plan, right? So, but I'm paying. And, it comes up for my license renewal, and I submit it in, and they keep my license. It happens all the time. And I say, listen, I've already went to the judge about this. The judge has already put me on a plan. I'm making the payments on the plan as ordered. I haven't missed one payment. State Department says, we don't give a damn about your plan. You need to pay it all off. So even where the judge can be lenient, there's very little leniency with State Department. And so a lot of guys are confused because they're on a payment plan to resolve their arrearage. They're not these deadbeat dads. Somebody got sick, fine, or a car went out, or or the house was flooded, something, right? So they missed a few months, but they're getting back on track. These are guys that are taking care of their kids, but they're still being punished. They're saying, no, out of nowhere, you got to come up with the full $5,000. And you can't do it. Not only can you not do it, but the judge saw that you can't do it. The judge could have ordered you to pay the $5,000. The judge could have said, go to jail and you'll get out when you pay your $5,000. Judges do that if they feel like you have the money. But if a judge says, listen, I know you ain't got the money, pimp, just pay $200. If the judge is looking at you, the judge who's supposed to protect the child, if the judge who's protecting the child says that you can't pay it, the State Department still doesn't care. The State Department says we want the whole $5,000. So people need to be aware of that just because you were on a payment plan does not mean that you are protected, right? And so that's a big issue. Now, there are a few exceptions if you really need a passport. Right. They have a few exceptions. If there's a medical emergency, you can apply through the State Department. You can say, listen, I'm sick, or you can have certain qualified relatives, right? Where I'm sick, or my parents are sick, grandparents are sick. I think uncles and aunts are also qualified, right? But you can't just say it. you need to document it. You need letters from the hospital. You need some type of proof, some type of proof from a government agency, maybe the Red Cross, if you need to travel overseas or somebody's sick overseas. Even a clergyman, somebody from somewhere better give you some hard proof. They're not just going to take your word for it. Also, and you need proof of your relationship, right? You need to prove that that's your mother that's in bed sick. So you absolutely need proof of there's some type of medical emergency. Also, a death in the family. Sometimes they will give you an exception for that. If let's say your mom dies and you need a passport to go visit her, you'll need proof of your relationship with your mother. So birth certificates. You'll also need the death certificate to prove that they've died. So there are a few exceptions, but generally speaking, it's going to be very difficult for you to get your passport back if you have not paid off the full amount. The State Department does not do payment plans. The State Department does not do partial payments. They usually want it all. So the number one best way, of course, to get the flag removed, the denial removed from your passport, is just to pay the damn child support. But a lot of guys owe 20 grand. A lot of guys owe 30 grand. You can't just pay 30 grand like that.
And lead attorney, there are people, sorry to cut you off, there are people in the chat room. I know where they're from. These whatever, who are saying that only Black men complain about child support. Is that true?
That is absolutely not true.
Right.
In fact, way more white men complain about child support than Black men. Now, why is that? Is it because Black men are so nice? No, it's just because it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game, guys. What are Black people? 10%, 13% of the population? Do you guys have any idea how many white men are on child support? It'd blow your mind.
But let me ask you this: so I'm on child support, right? And I remember it was just probably the most embarrassing thing I've ever witnessed, like especially in a court. So, like what they did at our first hearing, this is back in like 2017, I believe. They put us all in just one courtroom, everybody, like a cattle call, everybody.
So that's what we call them. That's what we call them, cattle calls.
Yeah, but the dynamic was the women were on one side of the room and the men were on the other side. Yes. But this is the other dynamic to add to it. The men who had their new wife or new boo brought them to the courtroom with them.
Oh my God.
So you had the baby mom or the ex on one side, then you got the new couple on one side. And I would never forget. So, they call roll call or whatever. So if you present, or you present. And so then they started calling each individual couple or whatever up. And so they would go into a back room, right? And so like I remember this woman, she goes into the back room and I'm sitting next to, I guess, the father of a child and the father's new boo. So I mean, now the men were talking, yeah, man, I'm already paying this amount. She's trying to get more money and all that stuff. We're talking. The baby mama comes out she comes out that back office, confronts the father and his new boo, and was like, yeah, you got to pay $1,000 today. And you ain't going nowhere. Cause nigga, I know you ain't got it. Right in front. And I'm just like,
yes,
dude, you got to pay $1,000 right now. And I know you ain't got it. So we ain't going nowhere. And
that's
I'm just
so terrible. That's so terrible. And it happens every day.
Yeah, I'm just sitting here like, in front of the father and his new boo.
That's exactly right.
And I'm just sitting here like, this can't be real.
Yes.
I'm just like, this cannot be real. I'm talking about rolled up. You got to pay $1,000 right now. Nigga, I know you ain't got it, so we ain't going nowhere till you pay that $1,000. I'm just like, golly.
Listen, she could have said anything.
It was so embarrassing.
Yes.
I was just embarrassed.
I think that's the perfect way to describe it. It's super embarrassing. The woman can say anything. With all these bailiffs in the courtroom, what you gonna do? You gonna sit there and take it? Whatever she say, embarrassing you in front of your girl, embarrassing your girl because your girl's with you and it's kind of seeming like you're a deadbeat, that you're poor.
Right.
You know, if you don't have $1,000, I mean, listen, $1,000 is a lot of money, but I think they say, it's what 40% of the U.S. population can't even come up with $400 cash.
Right.
Right. So $1,000, the woman doesn't want to be with a man who can't come up with $1,000. I mean, it's embarrassing all around, everybody. I totally agree with you.
And I just remember seeing that, like, and everybody knows I take care of my son.
Yeah.
Everybody knows I take care of Master, but I'm just like, why am I here? And just seeing that, and just how it can be used as a tool, as a weapon.
As a weapon. The whole
As
system.
a weapon. It was just so embarrassing. Like, are we gonna be this petty in front of his new fiance?
Yeah.
Are we gonna be this petty? And then just whatever have the like every time we had the status hearings and all that, and just hearing these couples and just these divorced couples, just the stuff, especially like what some of the women were asking for, and then you got the other dynamic. So I had a black judge.
Mm-hmm. You were down in Fulton County.
Yeah. Granville.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Listen, but see, the thing is, it's just imagine if you get the wrong judge.
Yes.
And so it was a status hearing, and so it was like a divorce that was going on, and I remember like the woman was just asking for like, why you like, where you like, what do you ask, what you want, what? And so judge was just like, don't you have a college degree? And she's like, yeah, I got my degree, I just graduated. Well, you need to get a job.
Wow.
I'm not giving you what you're asking for. You're getting this amount. That's too much. But just imagine if you had a different judge.
Yeah. Glanville's one of us and a good dude, but you're exactly right.
He's a good dude, man. Like, he's a good dude because he sat over my case, and I didn't get exactly what I want, but I was happy.
Like, yeah, he's like, okay, that's fine. Uh-huh.
It was fair. Like, it was fair. It was fair. Like, I didn't get everything that I wanted, but it was like in the middle, and it was fair.
That's exactly right.
I couldn't really complain, but it was just with the and guys, I'm not trying. In fact, I would like for some of the women to call in. If you'd like to call in, I'm not trying to beat up on the women, but it's just some of the stuff they were asking for, and
and the reason, it's even hard to blame the women for asking for crazy stuff because a lot of times they'll get it. It's hard to blame a woman who asked for crazy things when her girlfriend went to court 6 months ago, asked for the same crazy things and got it.
Right.
Because if her girlfriends are getting it, how crazy is it really? Right.
Right.
That's the problem. And there are judges like Glanville who are really going to listen, and they're not going to do what you want necessarily.
Right.
But they're going to be fair about it.
He was fair. He was fair. He was fair.
This is actually what I said, 20 minutes ago when some judges said the times that child support does work. I said child support is going to be a little bit more than what the father wants to pay. And actually it's going to be a little bit less than what the mother wants to get.
That was exactly my situation. It was a little bit more, but it was less.
Yeah.
As far as Master going to Africa in his passport situation, I would like for him to go immediately. She don't want him to go till he turns 18. So it was in the middle.
Exactly.
He gets 13. But he can get his passport just in case it's an emergency situation. And then she was wanting me to pay attorney fees, which is, I'm like, why would you even ask for that? His grandpa just threw that out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You want me to pay attorney fees too?
Listen, of course she's going to ask for it because it's common. I do divorces all the time when the husbands have to pay attorney's fees. Like it's super. That's not even crazy, to be honest. I mean, it's crazy maybe in certain cases. But judges award attorney's fees all the time. Glanville has awarded attorney's fees in a lot of cases.
But I think from what I was listening to, the only time I think he really awarded the attorney fees, from what I observed, is if the man didn't show up to court.
Yeah, I mean that's
a lot of times the man wasn't. I guess the man was like, it's going to be crazy anyway. I'm not going to come. I think that's the only time he was really awarding attorney fees, if he was a no-show.
Yeah, and that's really the biggest mistake as a man you can make, boy. When you're like, oh, it's gonna go bad, I'm not gonna show up. You have no idea how bad it's gonna go.
but the thing is, but let me say this: even it going bad, the woman still didn't get everything she wanted out, and it's like, okay, maybe if you would have just showed up, you wouldn't have to pay attorney fees. But he was still fair in regards to alimony and child support because they were asking for. I'm just sitting back like, what? And, you know,
See,
George Michael was like, hold on, you got a college degree. Go get a job.
that's because that's because it's Glanville. That's because it's Glanville. Glanville is going to be he's going to do justice. But there are a lot of judges who won't. And if you don't show up, oh man, you're going to get so screwed. You're not even going to imagine how screwed you'll be.
Yeah, let me put it. Nobody's motive is to escape. Okay. In fact, this is the question. Can someone truly escape child support?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, you got to go to an extreme. Let's say, for example, I'm not you, but let's say I'm a passport bro.
All right.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm down here in Johannesburg, and I found me a South African, and I'm in love. And, you know, I'm making some money over here because I'm living that laptop lifestyle. And I got this kid, and, you know, I owe 40 grand, and the kid doesn't like me because the mom turned my kid against me. And I'm never going back to the United States. If you never go back to the United States, that child support order is just a piece of paper. They are not going to find you in Johannesburg.
Yeah, but say the kid is 30 years old and you go back.
Well, that's your problem.
Right.
You can't go back. Like this, right. You're going to stay in Johannesburg your whole life.
Right.
If you stay in Johannesburg your whole life, or if you've never come back to this United States, you've escaped. Mm-hmm. But if you go back, it's like, you know, you're returning to the scene of a crime. Why would I rob a bank? Why would I do wrong in a bank? Why would I rob the bank, leave the bank, and then later on, a week later, go back to the bank? No. You can't go back to the bank. You can't rob the bank and then go back to the bank. Right. And that's what you're doing. You in the United States, the judges order you to pay child support. You're saying, I'm not going to pay at all. I'm going to rob the state of California. I'm going to rob the state of Georgia. I'm not going to pay. So you go to Johannesburg, fine. You've robbed the state of Georgia. Why in the hell are you going to go back?
Right.
If you go back, then of course you haven't escaped. Like so that's the issue. You know, can you escape? Yeah, but it better be a real escape. You can't rob a bank and then go back in the next week talking about, I thought I escaped. You're back inside the bank.
And guys, we're not encouraging anybody to skip child support. It's just the system is wicked and jaded, and something's wrong with the system. So if there are brothers who get caught up in the system and it's been weaponized against them, they need to know their options. Absolutely. So I see a lot of women in the chat room are bitter, but that's just the reality. And I see a lot of women who have this attitude. I hope and pray you guys don't have sons. Like, I hope and pray you guys don't have sons.
That's not even enough, though. That's not even enough. I had a woman tell me that her 7-year-old son was never going to be a deadbeat dad. It's like, can I cuss on this channel? I was like, how the hell? How the fuck do you know what your 7-year-old son is? You know, your 7-year-old son is going to go through when he's 23, 25, 27. You know, it's very easy. Life is always trying to put us down. And it's very easy to get caught up, you know, in something, or something goes wrong, or we get sick, we get a diagnosis, we get divorced, and now there's a bankruptcy. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And the system is so flawed. But even telling a woman that I hope you don't have a son, it's not enough. There's only one thing that's enough for them to know. And they have to be in the position. You know who was in the position for 6 years and was crying about it every day? Halle Berry. Halle Berry was owed she was ordered to pay $18,000 a month in child support. And she fought for 6 years to get it lowered. Right. And what was she saying? She, as a woman, she was saying, oh, child support system is flawed. The child support system has all these errors. The child support system is corrupt. The same thing that men have been saying for decades. But would she have been saying that if she didn't have to pay? No, she would have been like the women in the chat. What's wrong with child support? Right? But when the shoe exactly, but when the shoe is on the foot, on the other foot, then they see it.
Right.
And shout out to all the moms, moms, shout out to all the parents. We just had Father's Day, right? Shout out to all the dads, all the moms. It's a team effort. But just because it's a team effort, don't think that there's not some unfairness in the system. There is. And women who are paying child support will tell you. And there are absolutely women on child support. But, until a woman is on child support, that's when she will really know. Or this is the second way. The best way is for a woman to be on child support, but that's rarely going to happen. The second way, though, is when she gets married to a man who is on child support and caught up in the system with a crazy ex-wife. That's when the woman is like, oh, okay. Now your child support problems are affecting our household. Your child support problems are affecting our house economics. Why are you having these child support problems? And then the woman is like, oh my God, this child support system isn't even fair. Right. So that's a woman really has to have firsthand knowledge to really understand. It's not a shot at women because that's just human nature. Humans sometimes to really know something, you have to go through it. Right.
Again, Queen, I'm never going to explain myself. I already explained that this is not a skip out on child support session here. I don't know why. It's just man, I don't know why. I'm gonna start having just some male only. I understand why there's a manosphere. Yeah, I
absolutely.
Sometimes there's a manosphere, because it's just okay, whatever. And then we got to add another dynamic to the Halle Berry situation, because I know in the chat room we got some sisters from the divest community. Her Snow King. Her Snow King put her on child support.
Yes.
The grass is greener on the other side. You had David Justice and Wesley Stein. They were no good. Get you a Snow King. Put her on child support.
Absolutely. And she's fighting with that. She's been fighting with that man for years.
Yeah.
Right? For absolute years. Apparently, the man was calling her the N-word in front of the child.
Yeah, and saying I think the child's hair was nappy or something like that. Yeah. But that's what the divest community, that's what they want. They want to, Pookie ain't no good, so I'm gonna get me a Snow King, and then they get caught all that, and it's whatever.
You guys have no, yeah. I listen. I've been handling white divorces for 2 decades. I've been representing white men, white women. I represent Black people, yes, but just look at the numbers. Any divorce attorney is going to handle 10 times as many white cases as Black cases, just because there's so many white people, right? Especially if you deal with people with money, it's harder. Now in Atlanta, we got money, right? But still, whatever woman is thinking these white men are better than Black men, they don't have any visibility on the situation. I've got so much. I don't care how many white men a sister is dated. She will never date as many white men as I have represented in 20 years. Or white women, because white women are married to them white men. And I have seen things, I have heard things. I've had white men admit to things in depositions for 20 years. I know people in the divestment community, they think one way about white men. It's not true. But you can't tell them anything, and let me tell you, I don't know anything about the divestment community. I've just been learning about some of the things in the manosphere. Jessica X does some things about the divestment community. So I watch her streams to kind of put myself on game about it. I don't really know much about it, but I see the reality of situations.
All right.
And if a woman feels like a white man is better than a Black man, I should just sit down with her for an hour and talk about some of these cases that I've dealt with over 20 years.
Can you give us, well, of course, not mentioning any names because of client, whatever privilege or whatever the term is. Can you give us I just want to hear an example of just some of the stuff you see? Because I thought my situation was bad. My situation is nothing compared to some of the stuff when I talk to some brothers, what they're going through. Or even from the divest or the white community. Like, what kind of stuff do you just like? Do you see that it's just like, ugh?
Why? You know, I don't want to seem racist, right?
Go ahead.
Because there are good white people, bad white people, good black men, bad black men, right? Every race. But it seems to me that, you know, some of the craziest cases that I've had, you know, white people are on a whole different, they're on a whole different level. And white women, I mean, black people, and we got our own issues, right? But we're pretty conservative, and we're not going to really act out. I don't know, you know, I don't want to seem like I'm racist. So I don't want to specifically talk about white people and white men.
Right.
Because I could tell you some things about black men, but it's just, it's really whatever you can imagine. There's just been some terrible, terrible cases. People turning, you know, women turning kids against the men, women making up false allegations about themselves, making up false allegations that the man did something with the children, women convincing the children, brainwashing the children that the man did something and having the children talk to the police. And then their stories that the man is arrested and he's got all these charges, his reputation is ruined. But then the police really start investigating and the child's story falls apart. Why does the child's story fall apart? Because the child can't remember everything that the mom said, right? Women just calling the police on men for things that they didn't do, women bruising themselves, women
bruising themselves.
Yeah. Women making up all types of lies and temporary protective orders. Like whatever you see in the movies, you know, art really does imitate life. And I've really seen some things that should be in the movies that I've seen some things that the movies haven't really caught up to yet. But it's just any type of human interaction, whether it's brother and brother, whether it's mother and father, whether it's best friend, lover to lover, human interaction is going to generate craziness. And that absolutely applies to baby daddy, baby mama drama, right? It absolutely applies. You see on the internet, you know, didn't some dude just get killed because he was trying to see his kid? You know, he showed up at the woman's apartment, and then the woman called.
I saw one where like the woman sent her nude dude out to fight him or confront him.
They do that stuff all the time.
But my thing is just the mindset of like, you have to be, what kind of man are you? Where if a man is trying to see his kid and you're playing stepdaddy and you're going to come confront this man and not allow him to see his kid? Like, what kind of, like, I'm just thinking of that type of mind, like that type of mindset. Like, what kind of man who's playing stepdaddy? Well,
I don't know, Dynast. I mean, I think it's super common. It's
really
super common. I mean, you're from Atlanta, right? You don't remember when you could get shot from stepping on somebody's Nikes? It's this. It involves disrespect, right? It's not about you seeing your kid. It's about my woman doesn't want you to see the kid, and so now that you are in this confrontation with my woman, now you are disrespecting me, and now that you're disrespecting me and you have a problem.
Right.
It really wasn't about the kid. It's really not about the Nikes. It's not about the starter jacket. It's not about the fact that you bumped into me and didn't say, you know, you're sorry. It's black men have this thing with respect.
Right.
And once respect gets involved, that's it. I mean, that's the final destination.
Right. That's crazy. Guys, we're going to take a couple calls. If you'd like to call in, the link is in the chat. I know King Y'all, I know you clicked on the link a couple times, brother. We're going to get to you now. Again, if you'd like to call in and ask a question, add to the conversation. I'd like to hear some of the women call in. We're going to take a couple callers, then we'll close out. Again, if you'd like to call in, click on that link. The link's in the chat room. Click on the link, and you are more than welcome to add to the conversation. Now, lead attorney, when I tell my my friends in Africa how like the system works here in America with child support and divorces, because they're like, they think we're crazy because there's nothing like that over there.
Yeah, you know, I got Big Ike Ogiamian. He shows up in my chat a lot.
Yeah.
And I was on his channel. I think he's been on my. I think he's been on my channel. I can't. We've talked so many times. I can't tell whose channel we're always on. But I was on his channel last week. I hop on his panel a lot, and he's
Hold on one second. Hold on one second. Flying out.
we talked so many times. I can't tell you the channel we're on. But I was on his channel last week. I hop on his panel a lot, and
Okay. All right, never mind. Go ahead.
no problem. And he says, like in Nigeria, the divorce rate is like 1%, 2%.
Yeah.
Right. So I absolutely agree with you that if you tell me that the way people see the way that Africans view our system is totally different, I can absolutely see that. I don't know how they manage a 1%, 2% divorce rate. I really don't as a divorce attorney. I think there are a lot of things going on over there. There are a lot of influences over there.
Yeah, it's just it's foreign. Like there's just the idea of child support, and they could do what? Take your blood for what?
Yeah.
To them, it's just like it doesn't exist. Again, guys, let me see if Flying Amber's got it together. Flying Amber.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you had the YouTube. Well, it's an echo, but go ahead.
Yeah, I did mute it now. So is it clear now? Is it clearer? Can you hear me?
Go ahead. It's still a little echo, but go ahead. Still go ahead. Still go ahead.
All right. So I got a question for Mr. Lee. So you mentioned about child support arrears, right?
Yeah.
So there is maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong. There is child support that somebody owe because after the child support order has been put in place, they failed to pay, right? And they end up owing child support. And there are child support that people owe. Well, I don't think you call it child support. I think they call it arrears. During the divorce process, before child support order is already put in place, there is some amount of money that, say, depending on the judge, will say, okay, because the divorce took 1 year, you have to pay X amount of money as child's arrears, right? In addition to the actual child support order. Those are two separate things, right? They're not the same thing. You're not technically defaulting on your child support order. This is something that you've been asked to pay as a back payment or whatever you want to call it, as a makeup payment, whatever you want to call it, but it's not as a result of a default to the child support order.
Mm-hmm.
So in that case, are you still under does the same punishment applies to you? Say you can't get your passport renewed, you can't get your license can be suspended, even though it's not an actual default to the child support order?
Well, no, if you are ordered to pay retroactive child support,
exactly, yeah.
Or some type of temporary child support, and you're paying so that there's no debt. If there's no debt, then you're not subject to really any penalties. And let me take a step back and just let you guys know, like, none of this is legal advice. All right, this is just information. But if you're paying child support and there's zero debt, zero arrearage, then no matter whether it's retroactive or temporary, then you're good. The problem is when they say that you owe back child support and they're showing that there is an arrearage, they're showing that there's a debt. Whenever there's a debt, you have some exposure to being sanctioned by the court. You have some exposure to being punished.
So you can. So does that mean you can only get? Well, wouldn't that mean that you only incur a debt after a child support order has been put in place? Because if the child support order has not been put in place, you cannot owe back child support.
Well, there are a few states that have, and again, the reason why this is a little difficult is because, every state does things a little differently. The United States is made up of all these different states, right? And so all these states have different laws. So it's hard to talk about, California versus Texas versus Georgia versus North Carolina. But generally speaking, if the child support enforcement shows that you owe zero, then you're good. If the child support enforcement office shows that you owe anything more than $2,500, you are at risk of having your passport suspended or denied. Exactly.
Oh, just one last question about the divorce rate, right? Well, this is what people say. It's only 5%. Well, that's data actually. 5%, only 5% of divorce or separation end up in court, in actual court trial, right? You actually go for a trial. So does that mean that you technically unlucky to end up if you go to trial? That means that you really married to the wrong person if you end up in court because it's only 5% of all the divorces end up in trial.
No, no. There are multiple reasons. I'm not sure where the 5% number is coming from.
Hold on, let me mute you. We just got a lot of background noise, man. Go ahead, lead attorney.
Okay. I'm not sure where the 5% number that you're talking about comes from, but I will tell you that very few divorces go to trial. But there are a number of reasons for that. The main reason is the cost. It could absolutely be that you get divorced and your normal divorce, it takes you $5,000, $10,000. If you want a trial, it's very easy, especially in Atlanta, to get a trial, and it will cost you $75,000. It'll cost you $100,000. There are people that want to go to trial, but they do not go to trial because they can't afford it. So your question was, if you were in the 5% of cases, does that mean you just got unlucky? And no, if divorces were free, there would be a majority of cases that went to trial, probably, right? So many people want to go to trial, but they cannot go to trial because they cannot afford it. So it doesn't
have to do with the attorneys, right? Attorney fees is the reason why it costs them. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, attorneys we usually charge by the hour. It's nothing for an attorney in Atlanta to charge $300 an hour, $400 an hour, $500 an hour in Atlanta. Really, in California, and in New York, you can get $700 an hour, $1,000 an hour. How can you go to trial? A trial might take you a week. A trial might take you a week, and you're in there 4 days plus all the trial prep. It will absolutely cost you over $100,000 in so many of these cases. So there. Go ahead.
You just represent yourself then?
You can represent yourself.
I don't recommend that, man. I
don't recommend it either. But I will say that a lot of people.
This is why I'm saying that, because I always felt like the person that is involved in the divorce process know best about what happened in the divorce, especially if you're telling the truth, than a lawyer representing you, because he doesn't have the detail. You got the detail, you got the passion. You just have to understand the law, and I think you'd probably be better off representing yourself. It might not work out all the time, but I felt like that probably would be the better situation. But
Well, you're right that you have the passion and you have the detail. You're absolutely right. The thing is, most people don't know how to get the passion and the detail out correctly.
Right.
And what the attorney is going to do is the attorney is going to sit you on the stand, the witness stand, and the attorney is going to guide you and ask you questions that will help you get out the passion, help you get out the detail in a way that is effective. Right. So that's where the attorney comes in. But you're exactly right that your case better than any attorney ever will. So, it's your passion, your details with the attorney's knowledge of communication and law and effectiveness that's gonna be the key, right? You plus the attorney.
We're flying down, but going to let me mute you, flying down. You just did too much background noise. I would say this: trying to represent yourself in a trial will be equivalent to if you tear your ACL trying to do surgery yourself on your ACL, because you don't know the lingo, you don't know the language, you don't know anything. And you got people like lead attorney who went to school for this stuff, and you're just going to try to just walk in and represent yourself, and you just don't know the procedures and everything. You're going to make yourself look stupid, man. Yeah, you might have that one unicorn who represents themselves, as far as on the trial, but then you got a ton of people who just look stupid, and the judge is just going to laugh you out of the he's going to laugh you out of the court. I'll give you a prime example. So where I live in the West End, there's a neighbor next to me, and we have a shared driveway, but at first it was a dispute. So we went to court, and I remember, the judge calls us up. I was by myself, so I just represented myself. And again, he's going to ask you questions. You're not going to have the correct answer or know how to respond. And he's going to be like, pretty much get up out of here. I'm dead serious. Like literally. Like,
Yeah.
get out of here.
You know, Dennis, I would say you're right in some cases. If you believe it or not, I'm divorced. I actually represented myself. I went in there. I studied the law. I went and studied the state law. I went, the judge, everything, and I represented myself. And it's all about being able to object. All about being able to object, being able to ask the court what you want, and being able to, make a closing argument, effective closing argument. So I did that, but that's just me. The question I have for Mr. Lee, I guess my last question, this will be. Is it really about telling the truth in a divorce court, or is it about convincing the judge to believe what you're telling him or her?
That's a great question. It is 100% about convincing the judge. 100%. That's the whole game.
Mm-hmm.
The truth.
I found that out the hard way. It's not because your ex would tell all the lies, and she's telling the lies, and the judge would believe it.
Yes.
So it's not about telling the truth. It's about who can convince the judge, and our lawyer would do a pretty good job of convincing the judge that you're really screwed.
Absolutely.
But if you want, but anyway, thanks for the opportunity, Dennis. Gotta get out of here. Thank you.
Hey, where are you from?
Canada.
Okay. Are you Canadian or are you immigrant to Canada?
No, that's where I was born, but I'm out in Arizona right now. So.
Okay. Where's your parents from?
Nigeria.
Okay, you're Nigerian then. Okay, got you. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: Would you ever get married again? Where was your divorce in America or was it in Canada?
No, he was in America. I was married to an Hispanic lady, so.
Oh, you try to divest it, you try to divest it. I'm done with the systems. I'm gonna get me a Rosarita, and that went bad for you too. Yeah, that went bad for you too. That's what happened. Yeah.
The funny thing, I was married for 15 years, so we were married for a long time. But
which makes it, I think, worse because lead attorney, these people who married for 15, 17 years get a divorce. It's like, why you divorce it?
Yeah, because. If you get married when you're younger, right? Say you got married when you were 19, 18, 20, it's possible. At 35, yeah. Different things, things change, and people change after 15 years. And sometimes you don't even know who you're married to after 15 years because they're not the same person. And even the family culture is a problem. I always say people don't realize this. Marrying from a different culture is a problem. Believe it or not, you just added one problem to your entire, marriage life.
It's
Culture,
true.
Your wife, your fiance might like you, but the family would only like you because the daughter or the guy likes you, not because they like you as a person. And they'll never say anything about that, but you will live with that until one day you realize, oh gosh, these people were just, tolerating me the whole entire time. They didn't really like me and stuff like that. So, that's the deal with that situation. It's hard, but it happens, and 15 years, it's a lot to go through, and it's a lot of pain and a lot of stuff like that you have to deal with. So that's why I was talking about being able to represent yourself, because you can't tell a lawyer 15 years. That's a whole lot of time to explain, but you get the idea. You understand what happened the whole entire time. It's just that, if you don't understand the law, that makes it a little harder for you to do that. And if you don't, but if you have the money, it's easier to just go ahead and just get a lawyer, but also understand that because I think I get a thrill out of the fact that I had to cross-examine my ex, right? And I can really punish her. I did really punish her during the cross-examination. I know because I call her out on the truth. I said, look, and the judge will be like, the judge, but because you angry, you upset of the whole entire time. But cross-examination is a perfect situation, perfect time for you to call her out on all the lies, and you have to put all the emotion aside and be very strict. I think that's the only time you can get your pound of flesh during the cross-examination. A lawyer would not, well, maybe they would do that for you, but for me, the emotion and everything, looking your ex in the face and cross-examining them is a different story.
Let me ask you, would you get married in America again? Would you get married again after this experience?
So so the problem is that if I get married again, I'm gonna marry with the idea that we can get divorced anytime, right? I'm not gonna do prenup, but I'm not gonna give you my finances, right? I'm gonna do something. I mean, it's gonna be really 50-50. You do your part, I do my part. There is nothing like family anymore. I mean, it sounds odd because when I first got married, I was like,
wait. Let me jump in. You said that if you get married, you will not do a prenup. So let me ask you, why is that?
Well, so it's more like a personal belief, right? Because I feel like when I do a prenup, I felt like this is gonna end somewhere, somewhere. It's gonna end at some point. It's possible it will end. Like it's almost like you don't trust your partner, or your partner doesn't trust this.
Right. But when he asked you, would you get married? The first thing you said was yes, but I would assume that it can end at any time. So if you said that if you say that it's gonna end at any time, why would you not get a prenup if you know it can end at any time?
So this is the thing, right? So the one that you say can end at any time, that's a silence admitting, right? You admit to yourself. You're not telling your partner. Your partner doesn't know that's what you're thinking because you're smarter now. You know what happened the last time. So she doesn't know that. But when you say a prenup, you are announcing to the entire world that if this happened, this is what you're gonna get. You know what I'm saying? So, but the other one is more like being smart about it. You're like, I know this is going to end, so I'm gonna do certain things differently, right? Maybe I'm not gonna get a child with you. I'm not gonna have a child with you because I know what's going to happen. Maybe we're not gonna share the same bank account, not because I don't like you or you don't like me. It's just that from previous experience. You know what I'm saying? So it's funny because when I first got married, right? I'm married. I did everything for my family, right? My wife has access to my bank account, right? I gave her everything. I never kept a penny for myself. You know what I'm saying? And all the money that I made a lot of money over the 15 years, right? But at the end of the day, I was left with nothing. Zero. If I wasn't,
take the wheel, man. Take the wheel.
I was left with nothing. If I wasn't a very if I wasn't a very smart person, I would have ended up in the street. I was very strategic. Things fall in place for me, and I was able to pick myself back up. But that kind of mistake.
Wait. Let me see to get this straight. Because you said you got married, you got divorced. In the divorce, you lost everything.
Yes.
You lost everything.
Right.
Now you are considering getting married again. Let's assume it's possible. And you know that when you get married again, it can end at any time.
Right.
But you think that your wife does not know that it can end at any time. So you are going to keep that a secret, and then you are not going to get a prenup because your wife does not know that your divorce can end at any time?
No, because when you put something in paper, right, and you understand, everybody understand where they stand. To me personally, it's kind of off for me a little bit because it felt like I would never look at you the same because I always look at you with a suspicious eyes, right? But if I don't tell you that, there's opportunity for the family life to be normal, but I won't repeat the same thing that I did before. That's why I'm not telling you.
What you did before was get married without a prenup, and now you're saying you're not going to make the same error that you did before, and then you're going to get married again with no prenup. The reason that you lost everything flying on bar. Right. There's one reason why you lost everything in that divorce. Is because you didn't exactly. So now you're saying you're not going to make the same mistake But then you say you're going to get married again with no prenup again.
So let me tell you something. Let me tell you something. So now things are different, right? We have digital currency. We have Bitcoin. We have secret bank account. We have Swiss account. You know, so things will be different. That's what I'm trying to say. I don't have to tell her my bank account. If she doesn't know, nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? If she doesn't know, nobody knows. That's the whole plan. But if you do a prenup, you gotta realize one thing. When you do a prenup, you have to state everything you own, every single one of it. And now everything you own, she knows.
Flight Albert. So, and you're the guy that's encouraging people to represent themselves.
No, because look at it this way. I'm being honest because if you do a prenup, she knows everything. I don't think that's your game plan. In these days, that's not your game plan. If you come into a marriage situation and you're wealthy or you have some asset, I think the last thing you want to do is a prenup, because now everybody knows everything. If you don't declare that asset, nobody knows. I'm not saying that was the case, but that's my experience. That's what I would do now, because if I don't declare my asset, nobody knows what my asset is. If you do a prenup, you're announcing to the entire world what you own. And there's no way you can run away from that. But if you don't declare it, nobody knows. That's it.
All right. I wish I was in that courtroom with you. So, but hold on. You made it sound like it was you had a W when you represented yourself, but they say you lost everything. So what?
No. So this the deal, right? I mean, when you say you lost everything, right? That things that you just, that wasn't the goal in the first place, right? Say for instance, for a house.
Wait, you're telling me that wasn't the goal, to lose everything? Losing everything was not the goal?
No, that's what I'm saying. So, let me finish so that you understand what I'm saying. Say for instance, right? A house, right? Because we have kids, right? I didn't want to keep the house in the first place. I could fight to keep the house, but I wasn't interested in the house, right? Because if I keep it, she wouldn't have a place to stay, right? So that wasn't my goal, to keep the house, right? My goal was, what I went in there for was just to end the divorce. Honestly, you gotta listen to this. My plan in there was to end the marriage. I wasn't in there for the material possession, because she can keep the car, she can keep the house. I'll pay her the child support and any other thing she wants to be comfortable. That wasn't my concern. My concern in this trial was the lies. The lies was my number one concern. And two, I didn't want to drag the divorce. Some divorce goes for years. Mine went for a year. I didn't want to drag it more than a year. I wanted the divorce to be ended. I wanted my kids' time, and I wanted, and I just wanted to address the lies that everybody knows that this is a public record, and this was the case. It wasn't for the material thing. She came in there for the material thing. It was clear, right?
Did she file for the divorce?
I know. I actually filed for the divorce.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the one that filed for the divorce. She wanted the material thing. But the problem, you see, this is the problem women don't understand. You don't need to hire a lawyer to get a house I already wanted to give to you. Doesn't make any sense. Because you should have just asked me for the house. I'll give it to you. You know what I'm saying? But you get a lawyer just to fight me for something I didn't even have any interest in fighting in the first place. And you get it anyway. So those are the things people don't understand. You can't, sometimes it's very easy just to ask. I want the house. I want the car. I don't think there's a real man out there that will fight his wife or ex-wife over a house if they have kids, because where they're gonna stay. It's simple common sense. There's no real man that will fight his ex-wife over the house. Why? You're single? Technically, you're single. You don't have the kids. She has the kids. Except you get custody of the kids, then that's a different story. You want custody of the kids, you can even argue that you want a place to stay. But if she has custody of the kid, it doesn't make sense to take the house away from that. That's my position. It doesn't, because even the judge would not agree to that. He wouldn't. No judge on this earth would agree to it. They would say, okay, where are they gonna stay? if you take the house, you're single now,
Well,
right?
let me stop you. Let me stop you. I have a friend here in Atlanta. The judge awarded him the kids. They gave the wife the house.
Jesus.
See, he had a bad lawyer. Really, that cannot happen. There's no way you can get the kid and lose the house. For who? She doesn't have anything to use the house for. He had a bad lawyer, or he represented himself, because you don't know how to represent. So you gotta make your case. It's true, because you have to make your case. This thing is not that hard, right? You go to the court, you look the judge in the face, say, this is what I want, A, B, C, and D, right? And you submit your exhibit to support what you want and why you want it, right? And your wife says he or she, whatever the case may be, say wants A, B, C, and D. And at the end of the day, the judge would decide who gets what, right? But that's going to depend on what exhibit you submitted, how your argument went, what the closing argument was, and all of that, and plus other connection stuff like that. If you lose a house to a woman that does not have a custody of your kid, there's something wrong in that case. You should appeal it. Really, you should go and appeal it, because where you're gonna live with the kid, on the street? It doesn't make any sense. You should appeal that case, take it to the next court in your state, whatever the second court is. That you have to go after the Supreme Court or whatever. So just go and appeal, a court of appeal. Go and appeal the case. They will look at it again and they will turn it back to the lower court. If the higher court find out that the judge may be over, because there's something they call that the judge can over exercise his power option, because they do have options. Some of these things are not hard coded. If you read the law, the judge can decide what to do. There's option. When you start saying the shall or should, two different words. If it's shall, that's written in stone. If it's should or any other thing, the judge have the option to decide what to do. You have to understand this thing. Not every lawyer knows everything. I'm telling you, no disrespect, Mr. Lee, but I'm telling you, some people handle so many divorce cases. I'm telling you, even my wife lawyer, I sometimes think that she was stupid. Really, that's just my honest opinion.
Yeah, but she got everything.
No, it's what I gave to her. You're not listening to me. I gave her. It is everything that I have. It is everything that I could have. See, I could have kept everything. You gotta listen to this first. Don't laugh. I could have kept everything. You're looking at it from the part that, oh, you didn't win, she lost. No, I told you why I went in there. I went in there for two reasons, and that's what it was: to end the divorce and to dismantle the lies. I did not go there to keep the property. I could have kept the property. 110%. But you know what's going to happen? You're going to drag out the court case. You're going to make it longer. And because they're going to come back again for another trial, another exhibition, or until you get to the very bottom of it. By the time you're done, the house is not even worth it. You have to be practical. People have to be practical. See, I'm going to tell you something.
You don't have the house. You lost everything. So, but
let me tell you something that people. Let me make one statement. Let me make one statement real quick.
We gotta move on.
I know, but wait. I want to say this because I think this is very important, right?
Hurry up.
Okay. So when a guy is married, right? When people are they married, they have kids, right? Every time the kids goes away, right? The guy is very happy, right? On my time, right? I don't have to deal with the kid. The wife took the kid, or the kids are in the in-laws.
No, that is wrong. No, I disagree.
Yeah, we gotta go. We're gonna move on. Hey guys, that's not legal advice. Please, that he represented himself. Yeah, see, that's happened. Yeah, a judge looked at him, hit that gavel so hard, and yeah, I already know what happened. So, all right, SJ, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me?
We hear you just fine. Go ahead.
Okay, I was just about to say that I've been a court reporter for over 30 years, and I cannot stand pro se clients in criminal, civil, or domestic. And I know if the judge heard this man, he was just ready to make a decision.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
He's like, you're
SJ
talking too
knows.
much. Yeah, I know. You know, it's just he thinks he's doing a great job. He's doing a horrible job. But I just
Absolutely
wanted to
right.
say, I started out my career in court reporting, listening to a lot of divorce cases and domestic cases, and I always just used to sit and think, wow, everything in the beginning was just rainbows and butterflies, you know. And where does it just all go wrong? I wanted to ask counsel, what does he think some of the issues are before people actually jump into relationships and marriages, and you know, people can't see it themselves that it's going to explode later on? What do you think some of those issues are?
That's such a deep question, SJ. That's such a deep question because I think the most fundamental, and I'll just take it from the man side because I'm a man, right? The most fundamental thing is that men do not understand what a marriage is. They just do not understand it. If you give me, you know, there's a long time subscriber on my channel. He's famous in our channel, right? He's called the Young Prince, and he's 25. That's his name, the Young Prince, and he's 25. He has his own car and he has his own house. He has a girlfriend and he wants to get married and he wants 2 kids, right? And he's never been married before, and you know, he's super idealistic and wants a beautiful family. And when I talk to him, it's just like it makes you feel good, you know. It's like, oh man, this is the guy that wants to do it the right way. Right. Having said that, I know for a fact that this young man, he has no idea what marriage really is. He thinks that it's, I buy you a ring, we get this nice house, we have these 2 kids, and it's happily ever after, you know? He doesn't know about, you know, 3 years in when he's tempted by the girl in the mailroom. He doesn't know about, you know, when his wife gets this work husband, right? He doesn't know if they've been married, you know, 10 years about maybe an infidelity. He doesn't know about a dead bedroom situation where he hasn't had sex with his wife in 3 years. He doesn't know about maybe him and his wife, they go through a down trough and his wife doesn't talk to him for 4 months. Right? There are so many things that you and I hear in marriages that people they don't know the details. They just know the concept, right? It's really why I started my channel, to really let people know what the details look like. Because if you're not in court every day, you don't hear. But then if you go to court for 3 years, you'll look around. You go to the mall and you'll be like, man, like imagine what is happening in these people's kitchens. Because if you're not in really, right? Because if you're not in court, you just assume all these marriages are good marriages.
Yes.
And so many marriages, not even talking, let's say the divorce rate is 50%, right? So half these divorces, they're gone. Half the marriages, they're gone. So you're only left with the 50% that are still married. And it's very simple to think, well, you know, the 50% that are married, they want to stay married, right? They're happy. Right. And it's just not true. No. You know, so many people are married for the kids, where, you know, you got an 8-year-old and a 12-year-old, and they're sitting down at the table in breakfast. And the 8-year-old and the 12-year-old looking at each other, eating their cereal, like, what the fuck? Because, you know, mom and dad are down there and they haven't spoken to each other in 6 months. The 8-year-old and the 12-year-old, they ask each other, hey, what's the deal? Mom and dad have been sleeping in separate bedrooms for 4 years. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, why is dad beating on mom when he gets drunk? Or why is mom beating on dad every night and dad's, you know, hiding out in the damn bathroom? Hey, these are the things that you and I hear about that people don't hear about. Is that going to happen in every case? No. But if you want to make an informed decision about whether you want to get married or not, you need to know what a real marriage looks like. Right. You know, I'll tell men, you know, say, oh, well, should I get married? Well, why don't you do this? Why don't you talk to 3 men that you know that have been married 15 years or more? They'll be like, oh, lead attorney, I don't know one.
There you go. Flying Amber. There you go.
Right? right? I don't know what.
Exactly.
Right. And that's just the medium grade level. Like if you want the expert level, if you really want to know what marriage is about, and I don't want to say this because it sounds self-serving, but I really do think you should talk to an attorney in your city. Go pay the $300 consultation fee. Go, and I'll be honest with you, as a father, even if I was a mother, and I know that I have not told my son how all these other women are. I've taught my son to respect women. I've taught my son to be upstanding.
If I could cut in, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
And you know what's crazy? A lot of them, I would say the majority of women aren't having that honest conversation in regards to the nature of a woman with her son. I can tell you that right now.
And I don't even blame them. I mean, how can they know, right? And they're in a privileged position with respect to the law. A woman really does not appreciate the danger that her son is in these courtrooms. But you know who does appreciate him? SJ appreciates it. A divorce attorney appreciates it.
Yeah.
Instead of buying your son those $300 Nikes, you take that same $300, show him to, and snatch it right back. When he reaches, snatch it right back, and put his ass in the car and take him to an attorney's office and put that $300 down on the receptionist desk and say, somebody talk to this boy. One of these attorneys that's been practicing 10 years, 15 years in these divorce, somebody come talk to this boy for an hour. It'll blow his mind. A 24-year-old, what the hell does a 24-year-old know about a marriage, really?
No, nothing.
Right? You may say, well, lead attorney, women don't know about their marriages either. Fine, true enough, but they're not really as much at risk as these men. It's a different system for men. And so, men, the first thing that a man needs to know, I think I might have forgotten your question a little bit, but just to kind of backtrack, the first thing that a man needs to know is, what is a marriage really? Once you know what a marriage is really, then you can sit down and think about it and say, is marriage right for me? Right? And that's the second thing. Now you know what a marriage is. A little bit. You don't really know until you're in it. No one can tell you what a 9-year marriage looks like until you're in it, right? But, as black men, as men in general, we just don't pass down this information. Your father's probably never talked to you about his marriage because it's with your mom, right? Or maybe you didn't even grow up with the damn father in the home, so you don't have that there. Your uncle's been married for 20 years. Lord knows he don't want to tell you about that. How she was cheating on him or how he was cheating on her and how she forgave him 3 times. He's like, no, my marriage with your aunt, 20 years, it's been great. It's a lie. It's not necessarily a lie, but they've gone through so many ups and downs. Where are you going to get this information before you start stumbling into these same traps? Only really a divorce. I wouldn't even say go talk to a priest. I would say you talking to a priest about marriage, that's one of the worst places you can go because you're just going to get more concepts. Right? Is the priest going to really tell you, hey, actually, just before you came in, I was doing a marriage consultation where the guy, was beating on the wife or the wife had cheated on the dude with the neighbor. Is the priest really going to give you, no, well, in John 12:13, and is that really going to help you once you leave for an hour? A divorce attorney is going to give you real information. Then you got to look at yourself. Any person, generally speaking, can get married. Marriage is not for everybody, and it's I believe that so much of it is based on your personality. Right? College isn't for everybody. Being in the military isn't for everybody. Being an emergency, a ER surgeon, a surgeon in the emergency room isn't for everybody. Being a fireman, being a policeman isn't for everybody. Being the president of the United States isn't for everybody. Guess what? Being married is not for everybody. I did a video on that dude on the Seattle Seahawks. He's a football player. I forgot his name. And him and his wife, they got into an argument. And so he stormed off. And, he didn't come.
Did his wife shoot him or came back after him or try to run him over or something crazy like that?
Well, yeah, that's exactly right. She stormed off. Here's the thing. He stormed off and he didn't come back for a few hours. So the wife went looking for him. For some reason, she put a handgun in her purse.
Right.
And went looking for him.
Mm-hmm.
Saw his car in a nearby motel. You know what this woman did? That woman kicked in the door. Mm-hmm. That's how you know that she's crazy. But listen, here's the thing. She found him. She found him in bed. She found him in bed, butt naked. She found him in bed. This is a NFL football player. Found him in bed, butt naked, with his brother, who was also butt naked. Him and his brother were in bed, butt naked, with all these other women who were also butt naked.
Right.
Right. Now, I am not judging this man. Some men need a lot of excitement to get off. Fair enough. If you need that in your life, that does not make you a bad person. You should not be married. Right? A marriage is not going to help you satisfy the urges that you have. Right? If the only way you can really get off is to be in butt naked in the bed with your brother, why would you get married to one with all these women? Why would you get married to one woman? So first you have to know what a marriage is. Then you really have to look at yourself honestly. It can absolutely be that I want to be the next Usain Bolt, but I can't. My personality, the way my genetics are set up, I can't do it. There's no 8 hours a day for 10 years that I'm gonna be able to work to be at the Usain Bolt level. I'm just not set up for it. There are millions and millions of people that are not set up for marriage in the way that is instituted here in the United States. They're just not cut out for it. There's a building in the United States that has millions of men who are not set up for marriage. And because of their personalities, because of the way that they think. And that building is called prison.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people just the mentality, the low consciousness, conscientiousness, not a shot at prisoners, but the low intellect sometimes, mental health issues. So many people, if this is you, if you did a 2-year bid and then a 3-year bid and a 5-year bid, and now you're getting out and now you think you're going to get married, who's betting on that marriage to last? Right? Your mind isn't set up for it. Just because you can go down to the altar and pay your $125 for the license, it's not gonna, even with good people, it's not gonna last, right? And so you have to know what a marriage is. You have to look at yourself. And then after you look at yourself, you got to look at this lady. It's so hard, guys. I mean, you can really have your nose wide open. And I've been in love. I know how it feels. And you could just look at a woman and just be like, man, this is what I want for the rest of my life. But then the way you analyze yourself analytically to see if you should be married, you have to do this for her. And it can absolutely be that you love her and you're cut out for marriage and she's not. Right? You go down to juvenile court and all these women are damn on meth. They're neglecting their kids. They're leaving their kids for the new boyfriend. All right, and they're married. It's like, no, forget these 2 kids and forget my husband. I got a new boyfriend that I met a month ago. Started at the job. Now I'm going to drive to California with him. It's like, what the hell? It's not just men that are out here on these mental things that are out to go down to juvenile court. You see women all the time in a bad way.
Yeah, go to my hometown in Philadelphia. Go to the Frankfurt section in Philadelphia. It's zombie land. It's horrible.
Yes. So not only do you have to look at, what a marriage is, then you have to look at yourself. Then you have to look at her, right? And then you got to be realistic about marriages. Life, it can be that you and your wife are good people and you're compatible, but then life comes in, right? People get diagnoses, people die in car accidents. You can get married in 3 years, your wife is dead or you're dead. Right? So the whole thing about this marriage is going to last forever. We need to get rid of it. Shout out to Flying Armbar. He said, my marriage lasted 15 years and we got divorced. Let me tell you something. The majority of people, almost everyone would say, oh, well, you got divorced after 15 years. Your marriage was a failure. I do not view it that way necessarily. It could absolutely be that you got married, your marriage was relatively great for 14 years. 15 years, great, fine, she cheated on you and you divorced. But in my eyes, those 14 years that you were happy, those are valuable years. 14 years out of an adult's life is so long. 14 years out of a child's life, you know, the child is 1 to 15, fine, whatever. But out of an adult's life, that's such a long period to be happy. You know, even if you were married and your marriage lasted a good 14 years, in my eyes, that's a win, even if you did get divorced. Because guess what? You, assuming you're protected and don't lose everything like flying armbar, right? With the prenup, assuming that you got a prenup and you're protected, you can absolutely get married, have a successful marriage for 14 years, get divorced in year 15, 2 years later, find somebody else and be married after that and have another 10, 15, 20-year marriage.
Right.
You can be happy your whole life in 3 different marriages. You can be happy. Guys, it needs to be about happiness, not about marriage. Right? So many, I don't want to listen. I'm a deep dude. Right? I don't want to get too far on it. I mean, we could spend 5 hours. I've just been doing this for 20 years. I got so many ideas about marriage and divorce, guys. I got so many ideas. Come over to my channel. I'm the lead attorney. You'll see.
Hey, guys, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you guys go subscribe.
Well, one more thing I wanted to say was just about judges, and I feel lucky to have sat with very fair, down the center judges for the most part. You know, because it's true that women come in and they think it's going to be their way. And when I love to see when it doesn't go their way, they're so shocked, you know. But I love a judge that's really listening to everything and, you know, sometimes taking kids in the back and talking to children. And it's true. You can hear that somehow sometimes they sound so robotic because they've been told to say certain things or, but I'm enjoying this conversation. That's all. You know, I just wanted to say that was some of the best part of my court reporting career was hearing divorce cases and some of the best money I made too, because people just talk and talk and talk and talk and talk.
Listen, sometimes, so many times, I'll tell you, I don't know if it's a secret or not. Sometimes attorneys, we look at you and we want to switch places in a heartbeat. We want to switch places in a heartbeat.
Let me tell you, I don't know how you do it. Like on a continual, it's got to be so frustrating.
It's so terrible. You know, if you're a 20-year-old or 18-year-old and you go up to an attorney and say, "Oh, I want to become an attorney. How do I go to law school?" 8 out of 10 attorneys will tell you, "Don't even do it."
Right.
Don't even do it.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story. I was listening to Kevin Samuels today, and he was interviewing this girl, and she happened to be in Philadelphia, which is crazy. And so she was talking about how she wants to get married and have 2 kids. She's 30 years old, but she wants to go to law school. And Kevin was like, "You want to do what? So you trying to do all this and go to law school?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm going to be an attorney and civil rights and the struggle for civil rights." And he was like, and he said, your exact words, "Go ask the average attorney the decision that she's about to make is if it's a smart one, they would tell you no."
Don't even do it.
I mean, go ahead.
I don't want to say don't do it because there are people who will love it. But as a woman especially, you're gonna make money. All right, you're gonna make money. Give me 1 second. What I have seen, and I'm in Atlanta, right? And what I see dating in Atlanta and is women who are in their early, mid to late 30s, and they're killing the game. You know, 6 figures, and they're doing it. They don't have any kids, and they got money, but no kids.
Mm-hmm.
Now, some of them do have kids that I date, fine, but I'm talking about the ones that don't have kids. And you sit down, you know, on the second date, and they're like, "Yeah, so what's up with the sperm?" What? Like, I mean, basically, like you were on the clock. Like they let you know a 36-year-old with no kids.
Yeah, my eggs.
It's not a game. But you know, she's making $180,000, but she's not even really happy. Right, because it's so easy to get caught up in the money. If you're an attorney, money's gonna come, all right? But you know that. But if you're a guy, it's like fine, you just run it until the wheels fall off. But as a woman, you need to be especially careful. And this is something that I was not sensitive to until my divorce in 2016, and I went back on the market. And now I'm dating all of these women, and I'm seeing I don't want to call it desperation, but I mean, it's a desperate situation. You know, you go to Buckhead and you see all these, you date these women and, you know, they're doing so well, but they're not happy. And they're all like, listen, do you see what time it is? Can you read my biological clock? And it's a real thing. And so I think women do themselves a disservice, and it's hard to tell. You know, how can you tell a woman not to get educated and shoot for the moon and make all this money, right? But especially if you're a guy and that's been your career. But I really do feel, I don't want to be sexist about this, but I've just seen that women care a lot about having a child. You know, if they've already got one child and they're good. And if they've had 2 children, then they're really good. If you give a woman 2 children and $135,000 a year salary, she's set. She don't need nothing. Like, she is good. But you give a woman that same $135,000 salary and she doesn't have 1 kid and she's 36 and she wants that kid, you're going to look at a woman who really feels unfulfilled and a woman who feels pressure. And she's thinking about adoption. She's thinking about freezing her eggs. She's thinking about you. She's thinking about the next dude. If you don't work out, who else is like, who's next on Bumble? Who's next on Tinder? Who's next on Plenty of Fish? Who's next? Who's up next? Because I have I've got a plan for my life. You know, I want a child. And so how did I even get started on this? I don't know. Where was I going?
We're talking about women and becoming job. You know, if somebody's asked you, somebody should ask, should they become an attorney? You would tell them probably no.
Yeah, it's just an ugly profession now. And, you know, what really kills it is the student loans, to be honest. If you could get out of law school with $20,000 in student loans, I would say go for it. Just run it. Yeah, because law school is it's beneficial. It teaches you how to think. You know, if I don't have any kids, but if I had a kid, I would pay for my kid to go to law school, even if he or she didn't want to be an attorney, just because of the knowledge that you get in terms of how to critically think. I would pay that if it was 20 grand. But, you know, you could easily come out of law school with 120,000 and it's just not worth it. It's just not worth it, especially when you come out. A lot of attorneys, you guys don't know this, a lot of attorneys, when their first year, it's nothing for an attorney to make 50 grand, 60 grand a year. Right out of law school, like 50 grand, 60 grand a year. A lot of people from college are making that with, you know, computer science degrees.
Right. That's why I used to tell a lot of DAs, in a few years, I'll see you on the defense side.
Exactly. You know, SJ knows. SJ
when it's
knows.
time to get married and have children, you'll be on the defense side.
Yes. When your wife or your fiance looks at you and says she wants that $500,000 house, like, I can't make this in the DA's office, right? Now you're doing personal injury cases, right? Now you're handling the high asset divorces. It's true. It's true. It's complicated. There's so many things that go on with the decision to become a lawyer. But, you know, I did, like anything, you know, it's like marriage. People ask me, you know, you're a divorce attorney, should people get married? I say, you know, you should get married or you should not get married. It really depends on you and what you're thinking about and the factors that are going to affect your life and what you can do. And I feel the same way about law school. You really need to know the risk. Once you know the information, then you're in a position to make an informed decision. But most people are out here just reacting. Most people are out here not making informed decisions. And they wind up 3 years, 7 years later, and they're screwed. They're absolutely screwed.
Hey, SJ, we appreciate you for coming on. Yeah, we're going to take one last caller. Then
Thank you for letting me come on.
Anytime. All right, King Yah, go ahead. King Yah. All right, I guess King Yah is checked out. King Yah, you there? You've been waiting, so. Okay, all right, well, shoot, we'll go ahead and close out. Brother, how can people find you, contact you, and?
Yeah, listen, I'm just a simple dude. You know, I don't have Facebook, and my Instagram is dead. You know, it's only got 4 posts on it. So if you want to find me, just come over to The Lead Attorney. The Lead Attorney. I'm on YouTube. Just put in The Lead Attorney, and you'll find me. And come over there and subscribe. And we talk about some interesting things. I'm really giving you guys information that you will not get anywhere else on YouTube. You're just not going to get it, right? I think a certain way because of all of the time that I've spent doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just giving you the information. You know, they say when an old person dies, it's like a library burning down, right? Because of all the knowledge that they have, and it's gone. And honestly, that's kind of how I'm feeling. Not that I got some diagnosis or anything, but I've been 20 years in the game. I'm feeling old. I'm an old dog now.
All right.
And so what I want to do is just give you, let me just shout out Raven Von Cuervo. Raven, my girl over there, one of my biggest supporters. Shout out to Raven. Shout out to Raven. Shout out to Rich Cliff. Shout out to Chaos Rain. I saw a few of you. I haven't really been looking at the chat. But shout out to all my folks over here coming over and supporting my man Dynast and support what we're doing over here. Yeah, so if you want to find me, just come over to the Lead Attorney. But we're talking about serious things, and I'm really giving you the game. I also want people to start a YouTube channel. So I'm telling people, you know, how much money I made when I had 10,000 subscribers, how much money I made at 25,000 subscribers. My last video was about the dark side of YouTube. I'm not big like you, Dynast. I just started, you know, I just got monetized in January.
Okay,
right?
well, I'm not big either.
You got about 100,000. That's huge to me. Listen, it might take me 2 years to get where you are. So to me, you're humongous. To me, you're humongous. I'm just a baby in this, and I'm learning. And while I want people to start their own channel, I want to tell people what I'm learning too. So hopefully you don't fall necessarily in the same pits, the same pitfalls that I've fallen into. So, you know, if you want to talk about relationships, if you want to talk about marriage and divorce, if you want to talk about starting a YouTube channel, please come over. I got some insights for you.
Absolutely.
Everyone, and again, I just wanted to thank you again for having me on. You know, I know you're a Georgia love just like me. So, you know, it's great to connect with you, brother. But also just seeing what you're doing. I mean, just you're making your own life. You're thinking for yourself, which is really one of the things that I want for my whole channel. You know, someone asked me, you know, well, should a guy get married or divorced, or what should a guy consider? The guy should think for himself. Don't be, oh, well, this girl wants me to get married, so, you know, I bought the ring. Oh, you messed up. You messed up. Think for yourself, you know, craft your own journey, your own destiny. And that's absolutely what you're doing. And the fact that you're documenting it so other men can see it, other men can be inspired and motivated, it's so beautiful. So salute to you. Thank you so much. So thank you for having me on here, but also just thank you for your channel and your content. It's amazing.
Oh, so we have a Georgia hater who just entered the chat room, Fitzgerald Stevens. He unfortunately went to this school in Tuscaloosa.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Not Bama, but Bama. You know, he just joined us in the chat room. You know, this Georgia hater who went to Bama. You know, that powder football team in Tuscaloosa. That don't even count. They don't play no real ball over there. They don't play no real ball.
They don't know about it. They do not know about it.
That rag and wear your Alabama shirt. You got two Georgia alumni here, Fitzgerald. Nah.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Shout out to Alabama. There's some good, you know, people always talk about attorney's fees and how expensive they are. And you go to Atlanta, you're absolutely paying, you know, $300 an hour, $400 an hour, $500 an hour. But, you know, there are some attorneys who are more reasonable. You know, in Alabama, you can get your whole divorce done for like 2 chickens and a watermelon, right? I mean, so shout out to all the Alabama attorneys still taking guns and chickens for their divorce cases. So shout out to Alabama.
Yeah, shout out to my attorney, Tracy Reese. She was very reasonable.
Awesome.
Tracy Reese. She was very, very reasonable. So
shout
everyone, thank you for joining. Like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, family, go Dogs.
Go Dogs.
Peace.